major union representing education workers in Ontario says its members have voted overwhelmingly in favor of a potential strike that could take effect by the end of the month. The Canadian Union of Public Employees says 93% of its 55,000 members voted in favor of job action, putting them in a legal strike position as of September 30th. The union says that while it intends to continue bargaining with the Ontario government and hopes to avoid that strike, its members are concerned about recent changes to the province's education system. The measures include increases to average class sizes, shifts toward online learning models, and a gradual reduction in the number of working teachers. The changes were implemented over the past year by the Progressive Conservatives under Premier Doug Ford. The president of CUPE's bargaining unit says that members are prepared to walk off the job in order to push back against what they see as cuts that will compromise the quality of education in Ontario's schools. Walton had said workers would not walk out if progress was being made at the bargaining table and said the union still planned to proceed with negotiations scheduled for September 17th and 18th. Contracts for Ontario's public school teachers and education workers expired August 31st, and the major unions are in various but mostly early stages of bargaining. Last week, the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario indicated it would be taking a strike vote among its members in the coming weeks. The Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation has gone to the Ontario Labour Relations Board to determine which issues should be bargained centrally and which should be dealt with at local tables, and the union is waiting for a decision. The Ontario Ministry of Education did not immediately respond to CUPE's statement yesterday, but Education Minister Stephen Lecce said earlier that he is open to negotiating a smaller boost to class sizes. Police say one person has been injured and a suspect is still at large after a shooting at a shopping mall north of Calgary. Officials say they believe the shooting at the Cross Iron Mills Mall in Balzac, Alberta was targeted. Police and RCMP received reports of a shooting at about 7:11 last evening. According to paramedics, one injured male was taken to hospital. The shooter is a Caucasian male. That's according to police. Some of the federal party leaders are getting early starts as Day 7 of the federal election campaign begins. Liberal leader Justin Trudeau kicks off in St. John's, Newfoundland with an announcement at a parent and child center before heading to Prince Edward Island for a rally at the farm of longtime Liberal MP Lawrence Macaulay. At the same time, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is due at a nonprofit housing complex in Ottawa for an announcement with a candidate, Emily Taman, who's hoping to take a downtown seat away from the Liberals' Catherine McKenna. Then Singh goes to Northern Ontario to hit a ploughing match and host a town hall in Sudbury. Conservative leader Andrew Scheer is in Winnipeg making a policy announcement at a beauty school. The Greens' Elizabeth May is to talk about her party's plans to protect Canadians' privacies at the high-tech University of Waterloo. And Maxime Bernier of the People's Party is spending a second day in New Brunswick, taking part in a meet and greet with a candidate in Fredericton. Unifor President Jerry Diaz said the massive employee strike that hit General Motors in the U.S. yesterday could migrate to Canada next year if trust is not restored. The union head pointed to plant cutbacks and closures on both sides of the border following pledges to maintain operations, and cited a credibility problem. You would think with great wealth would come incredible loyalty. That just hasn't happened, Diaz said, highlighting GM's $12.7 billion U.S. in net profits over the past 18 months. A strike may very well sprout at Canadian plants in 2020, he said. A collective agreement between Unifor and the auto giant is set to expire in September of 2020. More than 49,000 members of the United Auto Workers went on strike against GM in the U.S. yesterday, bringing more than 50 factories and parts warehouses to a standstill in the union's first walkout against the #1 U.S. automaker in over a decade. GM Canada's Oshawa plant will see the vast majority of its 2,600 unionized employees laid off this year, though initial plans to close it were adjusted to save about 300 of those jobs for a parts operation. Economic Development Minister Vic Fedeli said the Ontario government is in dialogue with GM Canada about the American strike and is monitoring the situation closely. Toronto's medical officer of health wants the Ontario government to stop letting students skip their vaccines on philosophical or religious grounds. The tougher stance is among several recommendations Toronto Public Health proposes in a strategy to boost immunization rates among school-aged kids. Other suggestions include promoting vaccines directly to students themselves through the school curriculum and offering health clinics financial incentives to reach vaccination rate targets. The agency's Associate Medical Officer of Health says a key measure would make it tougher to avoid vaccines under the Immunization of School Pupils Act.